Welcome in, everyone, to Sosa's Steam Room. On today's show, we are talking the Blackhawks' disappointing first-round loss to the Blues, Bears draft coverage, a little bit of Bulls stuff with free agency talk with Pau Gasol, and a special guest, our buddy Joel Brand. And we're talking the Cubs' recent stretch as they continue to start off hot. Hit it. What's up, everybody? My name is Drew Edstrom, and the other co-host of this podcast is the one and only Blake Van Pocky.
Hello.
This is episode 13 of Sosa's Steam Room, and a couple things you need to know. We love emails, so shoot us an email at sosasteamroom@gmail.com. We have Twitter and Facebook and Instagram accounts. Just search Sosa's Steam Room. We also have some personal Twitter accounts. Myself at DN Edstrom, and Blake, your Twitter handle?
At Soldierfield BLG.
That's right. Also, sosasteamroom.com. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to shoot us a couple dollars, you'll receive some gifts. Sorry for the brief hiatus here, folks. We've had a couple of busy weeks with school winding down. I am graduating in like 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
Exciting stuff. I'm a big boy. I did it. Mom, I did it. That one's for all the people who thought I couldn't do it, which so everybody. I made it through college. Shout out to coffee. And there was a tradition at North Park a couple Tuesdays ago, something we like to call the freshman streak, which is pretty much
self-explanatory.
Yes, freshmen run naked across campus. If you want to know more about it, just
go to
tweet
North Park.
at us. Come to
University.
North Park University. So it's a big thing here. So that was Tuesday night 2 weeks ago, and we had to attend because, of course.
Because we have to.
We love obviously. You guys, but we love
that as well.
We love that, which is kind of sounds messed up. Now that we're talking, we love naked freshmen. Gosh, someone's gonna come after us. Mm-hmm. So Blake, we went to the local watering hole last night, and we watched.
We did.
Some sad stuff. The Blackhawks were eliminated in the first round by their arch rival, the St. Louis Blues. Just to give you a quick recap of the series, in Game 1, they lost 1-0 in OT, and it was probably the best game that they played all series. Just an unlucky bounce at the end there.
Yeah.
Game 2 was a 3-2 victory. Keith was back in the lineup. Shaw hit the game-winning goal. Game 3, a 3-2 loss, and then fell apart in the third for the most part on the Kane high sticking penalty.
Yep.
Game 4, St. Louis took that one 4-3. Tarasenko, as he did basically the entire series, just dominated, and the Hawks blew a late lead again.
Yep.
Game 5, Kane scores that overtime winner to extend it. In Game 6, they fell behind 3-1, came back and rallied and won that game. And then Game 7,
you know what happened.
Yeah. Right on the line there with that Seabrook shot. And
tells you all you need to know, honestly.
It's, like you said to me last night, Blake, this is playoff hockey.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what's going to happen. A bounce can happen here or there.
Sometimes you get those, sometimes you don't. And that's the moral of the story.
All right, Blake. Well, let's break this down here. So the Blues won and the Hawks lost. Why?
The Blues won. I'll start with the Blues because
they did win.
Unfortunately.
We're going to give props.
I'll say this: I'm glad a team who is really talented like the Blues kind of got over their own demons. I mean, a team that good should not be losing in the first round every year. Just straight up telling the truth here. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're that good. But they won because Ken Hitchcock is a really solid defensive-minded coach, and they have tons and tons of really good defensive talent on the back end. And you saw all series, the Hawks had a lot of trouble getting pucks at the net, getting into those really high percentage scoring areas. That big reason why Kane was so ineffective at times and why Panarin wasn't scoring as much. They weren't in those spots that they usually are in where they can score from. And at the same end, on the other end, you still have you have that first line in Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz that really played really well. Like those guys that's a very good line. And they really carried the offense for the most part. But
yeah, you mentioned it. The Blues D-men, I think, was a huge part of why the Blues won.
Mm-hmm.
You saw them shut down that second line with Kane, Panarin, and Nisimov.
Yeah.
Force Q to kind of go to that Taves-Kane line. And whenever he does that, they're in desperation mode.
Yeah, the nuclear option.
Yeah, and their defensemen are just so big.
Yeah.
Parayko, huge
yeah.
bright spot for the Blues this series.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about him going in, but now I know a lot about him coming out. He has wicked heat on his shot. Just a big body. I believe he's 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
Just was constantly the Blackhawks were having trouble with zone entry.
Yeah,
majority of this series just because of how big the defensemen were for the Blues.
Yeah, and he has that long wingspan, and you watch him on the boards. He can extend that arm out so far and just chip it out, and you saw that a bunch. And he wasn't the only one doing that too. Alex Pietrangelo was really good this series too. Probably the best defenseman on the ice, even probably for both teams. He did a lot of good things for the Blues, and blocked a lot of shots, and just gave those top end scorers a lot of trouble for the Hawks. So
yeah, defense won this series, I would say, by shutting down the Hawks' big guns. Jonathan Taves did not score in this series.
Yeah.
The Hawks are not going to win if Jonathan Taves.
I'll say this: it's a little overblown. I wouldn't say he really struggled, because I thought he played actually really well overall, and even on the offensive end, I thought he created a lot of good opportunities. But welcome to hockey, where sometimes it just doesn't go in for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that Game 6, especially, Taves probably had his best game.
Oh yeah.
Really creating chances for his teammates down the stretch. That TVR goal, where he kind of rushed the net there, set him up with a nice pass.
He had a lot of plays like that just
hockey
didn't find the back of the net. Yeah,
hockey.
That's what I say. I say it all the time. You lose a game like that, where, just talking about Game 7 here, you lose a game where you hit the post with less than 6 minutes left, and you beat the goalie cleanly, and then on the other end you get a weird bounce and a little chip shot for the game-winning goal. So that's hockey.
Yeah.
You take it and leave it. So.
Well, I mean, you want Jonathan Taves to obviously score for your team in that series, but he did do a lot of intangibles. But personally, if you're able to shut down the captain of the other team, someone like a Jonathan Taves, you have a pretty good shot of winning.
A guy with that much
talent,
offensive talent, I mean, Kane and Taves had one goal. I mean, it's not like they haven't won series before when those two struggle, but you saw it's really hard to, especially against a good team like that.
But that also brings up the point people have been talking about this Hawks team compared to other Hawks teams in the past.
Yeah.
The depth on this team is definitely not as good as the depth on past Cup teams.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I'm wrong in that?
No, you're absolutely right. Okay. For the forward lines, Q had to do a lot of mixing it up, trying to see what works. And at times he found really good lines, like that third line with Kruger, Ladd, and Hossa really delivered and played really well. But at the same time, he couldn't find like a 12th and 13th skater who could play really well in that back end. And just with the defense, I mean, they had four guys, including TBR, that they could rely on, and he didn't know what to do with the 5th and 6th defensemen. Roosevelt played halfway through the series and made a lot of mistakes, so he went to Rundblad, and then he didn't do much either, and Svedberg was bad too. So this team had a lot of issues.
It's been the story all year is the defense.
Yeah,
who you have your top four, who are the other guys?
Yeah,
defensive depth was not a strong suit for this team heading into postseason.
I think in the end that's definitely what cost him. You would see a lot better opportunities for the Blues scorers, their forwards. Just in the offensive zone, it seems like sometimes the Hawks would be scrambling. I noticed that a lot last night in like the third period. There's a lot of opportunities where, it was just wide open shots that they might, whiff on or whatever. But it was tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow for both of us, considering that we both hate St. Louis with a burning passion.
Yeah. I'll say this. This was the best Blues team we've faced.
I agree.
In the last however many years. They have a lot of good talent, a lot of good depth on both offense and defense.
And a pretty solid goaltender.
Yeah.
As well, which is a big...
Kind of out of nowhere, too.
Yeah, because you looked at Blues teams in the past and say, okay, they got some good forwards, they got good defensemen. Okay, who's their goalie? Mm-hmm. Is he going to be consistent? Is he going to bring it every single night?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and Brian Elliott's really found himself in this last month and a half. He's played really good hockey, and they still have Jake Allen on the bench, who's is a Vezina finalist himself. So they've found their goaltenders.
Yeah, absolutely. Duncan Keith was suspended for the first game of this series, but I feel like the remainder of the series he played very, very well. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on Dunks?
Yeah, he did. He was exactly what they needed after that first game. Really helped moving the puck out of the back end to get to the forwards to the neutral zone, and just provides that constant defensive presence. And he even showed a lot. I thought he was a really good two-way player this time. He did a lot on the offensive end, more than he usually does. Chipped into the offensive play more than usual. But yeah, he was really good. He was as good as he usually is, I would say. But yeah.
So what's next? What do we do now?
That's a tough question. That's a really tough question.
Because cap space is limited.
Yeah.
There's been murmurs about an Andrew Shaw trade, and I think he will be traded because I think you can get a decent return for him.
Yeah.
A guy like that. So, first of all, I'll ask this question.
Yeah.
What do they do to address the defense? And then the second part of this question is, what kind of return do you expect for a guy like Andrew Shaw?
Well, this is where it's tough because they need to address the defense, but I don't see a clear-cut way to do that without losing a core player or, having to take the long route of drafting a defenseman and, developing that type of stuff. So, maybe they could get an asset in return for Shaw on maybe a cheaper deal. But, there's not a clear-cut answer for that specifically. But with Shaw, I think we're going to get a pick for Shaw. I mean, we could get an asset back from a team, but most likely it's going to be a pick. Probably a couple picks, first and third or something like that. But he'll be a valuable guy to move, and his cap hit is what it is right now, and it'll be good for Shaw too because he is going to get a payday and he deserves one, honestly. And the Blackhawks can't pay him, so. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's probably what's going to be going down. But just some overall thoughts on the season here from both of us.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think when you're a defending Cup champion and you don't win the Stanley Cup, I think it's a disappointment. I wouldn't call this season a complete failure.
Yeah.
But it's obviously now where you want to be. For me, one of the bright spots of the season was just watching Patrick Kane. Mm-hmm. Definitely Hart Trophy winner.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just watching him play and watching him dominate the league this season in a year full of controversy for him was something that I really enjoyed. Yeah. Your thoughts on the season?
Well, like you said, they didn't win it, so I guess you can call the season a failure if that's what you're setting the bar at. But they did do a lot of good things this year. They found a legitimate star in Panarin. For years to come, he's going to be one of those guys moving forward. He's a part of the core now. And, they did a lot of good things offensively this year. Like you said, Patrick Kane really found himself this year. Some negatives, I guess, Jonathan Taves kind of had a off year. I think losing Brandon Saad actually kind of hurt a lot. And guys like Patrick Sharp and, those wingers he could really rely on night in and night out. But overall, I thought it was a good season. They weren't as good as they were last year, clearly. You know, you can't, when you lose that many guys, it's hard